thank you first off for all of it. Braving the weather, we did change the location back here to make sure, and let me tell you why we're doing that. We're doing that because I'm blessed in the fact that this district is the only district that has two Lincoln Douglas Day debate sites. It's the week of President's Day, and it would be appropriate to announce the launch of the new campaign here. Let me tell you that it's been an honor to serve you for this short year, and it's been quite the learning experience. But I'm going to try to get to my notes here. As your representative, my job has always been to serve you, and what a blessing it's been, and I thank you for that. But that's why I've started, and let me go over what we've done in this last year. One, we've conducted public meetings in every county, and some more than one meeting, so that we could reach out to the people, because you can't represent people unless you have an open door policy to hear and understand and listen to their concerns. Now, we expanded on that. We also had, and this is, when I look at this number that has been put together in my notes, know that we had teletown hall meetings. In those teletown hall meetings, we've had so many that we've been in contact and had on the line over 100,000 people in a year. And have their input and have them understand what we're doing and what we're doing. We created Take Your Congressman to Work Day, which was kind of a unique situation, and I've been everything from a bakery up the street here to every factory you can imagine, including in the southern part of the district, a factory that makes armament and armor shells that are used in fighting our wars. And I'm also have done the best I can, and I think the number is 2 weekends over the entire year that I did not make it home, to make sure I keep in touch with my family. And that's not just going to my home, that's going all over the district during that time. Now, when issues come up, we've responded fairly quickly, and we're standing right here. One of the most important issues happened just a few weeks ago and a few months ago, and we're fighting floods right here. But it wasn't just here. Understand that flood affected my district all the way from Alton to Cairo. And every time that we were fighting as it crested along each place along the battle, because that's what it was, to try to protect the property. During that time, we also had problems with some farms flooding and stuff like that, but we've been working with farmers to get emergency loans for them. I voted against Obamacare several times, and have fought to increase Medicaid premiums for our seniors as a result of changing those things around. We're working hard to make a difference. But let me tell you that the efforts and the things that are occurring in the district aren't different than what they were whenever I started. One of the most important things that is to this area is jobs. And you know, every one of you should know that I'm, as a small business owner, how important that is to me here in Southern Illinois. But I've tried to cut through the politics and playing games in Washington to actually work on these jobs. And one of the first things that happened 1 month after I came and was sworn into office is when we got notice of 2,000 jobs right here in Granite City, that we could possibly lose them. And we started in on an effort working with other members, but I took the lead on carrying the legislation forward to try to stop and correct the issue in our trade bills and our trade language that would allow us to put guards up to make sure that we could quickly resolve any problems and stop the dumping that occurs that changes not only steel but many other of our products. When we worked with the legislature and the members that I worked with, and we got it moved, and working with Rodney Davis, the day that we knew it was actually going to move, and it got moved in 2 different locations, one of the more senior members of the Ways and Means came to me and said, you know, we've been trying to change that since 1972. Well, that was signed into law, and the legislation was passed, signed into law, and even though we know we're suffering from kind of the recoil, we know that as we move forward, those things should not start happening again. So I also introduced several pieces of legislation to cut red tape on small business, because we've got to make sure that our small businesses continue to grow. And the first bill that I actually served in, or was co-sponsor of in Congress, was making sure that veterans find work. let me tell you that the important of jobs is one thing, but the one thing that is vitally more important than that, because you can have all the jobs in the world, and if we're controlled by other nations, or if they invade us and we're not keeping us safe, then we're not doing our job. You know, as a Marine, I knew that we couldn't hunt seas. That's why I fought hard to make sure we're bringing the NGA into St. Clair County and the Scott Air Force Base, because that's a safe location in the center of the United States. And as we move forward, the mapping and the ideas and everything that they work on is vitally important, not only to every branch of the service, but also for operations of Homeland Security and everything that's involved with that, and farming is part of that as well. Now, I voted to fully fund our military at the request level that they asked for this year, and we'll continue to fight for them. And Scott Air Force Base has the resources it's needed, and we can't cut. That way, we're not cutting our military, and we're continuing to fight ISIL. Let me tell you that in the wake of the terrorist attack in France, we voted to keep the influx of Syrian refugees from America. Folks, we are a country that loves people that are refugees. That's not different. It's not different today, but we must be safe. We must make sure that they are properly vetted, and we put together a bill to do that and send it over to the Senate. And I oppose the dangerous deal that President Obama has cut with Iran. Folks, I joined the Marine Corps during the Iran hostage situation, and I know for a fact that, look, they are a threat. They continue to be a threat, and to release the sanctions is going to be terrible for the United States and dangerous for our children and grandchildren. And I believe we must secure our borders, and we're working to try to get that done. Let me do real quick in closing and then answering questions, because the rain's starting. Okay? Let me tell you this.
Which means that they will be fighting on the front line. I served in the Marine Corps as well as a Navy hospital foreman in Vietnam. And I wouldn't want my granddaughters or any of your granddaughters or anyone else who did not choose to go into the military especially. I don't think they should be on the front line, but if they volunteer, it's a different thing. Will you stand against any effort for our government to forcibly have women to be drafted into the military service, which means they will be in combat?
Yeah, first off, let me not give you a political answer and say yes, okay? Then let me tell you that we met with the Commandant, and the Commandant of the Marine Corps was adamantly opposed to the enforcement of those certain rules. Now, that's not that to say that our women can't serve in military, and should, if they choose to. Matter of fact, I served with Martha McSally. She was an A-10 pilot. She's a full bird colonel, and she's amazing. And she is amazing at that job. But we should and must be very, very honest about what we're doing and find out from the studies that the Marine Corps did, where exactly are the best locations for the people, regardless of gender. Not just automatically throw them in to try to make a balance based on gender. And so yes, the answer is yes on the okay. Anybody else? Thank you so much for coming to Belleville Boot Factory and heard about their issues and what they deal with and everything like that. Do you know that the Belleville Boot Factory is the only boot factory that only provides military?
Yes, they do.
And that Belleville Boot, because of a larger boot company in this nation named Wolverine Boot, had used their congressman to put together some language that would have made it where Belleville Boot would have not rated as a small business anymore. Because Belleville Boot is the only small business boot company in the nation. And because of that, they are able to get some advantages that are necessary to keep that group of people working. My staff, because we had spent time there, were able to notice that, and we aggressively went in and tried to get that problem changed. You know, we've worked on many things. We worked on the problems with Granite City Steel, and we hope, no, we know that the language that's there will fix the problem in the future. Unfortunately, we have to go through this rough time of where the steel has already been dumped into this nation, which is another issue we have to deal with. As we deal with trade, we can't shut off trade, but we have to be very, very wise in what we do with trade. We must make sure that trade lanes are open, but the other countries aren't setting them in a situation where they put themselves where we're actually have a disadvantage. And so we're trying to make sure that the language is there to do that. You know, let me tell you this right quick, and then I'm just going to conclude and see if you got any questions. It's been an unbelievable year and month and a half, and I am so honored that I have the opportunity to serve you. It's busy. We're busy all the time, and that's okay. That's what this job's about. It's not about the title, it's about serving you. And let me tell you this. Over this next several months, I'm going to be working hard not only still to work to serve you in D.C., but I'm to be the candidate that I need to be to make sure that we hold and retain this seat. Now let me tell you, there's some good things happening in our campaign. One is that we have 3 opponents, not one. Only in the Illinois 12th can we get a primary in the Green Party. We have a primary in the Green Party. Everyone is familiar with my opponent on the Democrat side. Let me tell you that we're doing the things we need to do. It's very expensive to raise money, and this is an expensive race to run. Especially because of our Metro East area, because you're advertising what you're trying to get out. If you advertise in the Met networks in St. Louis, you're advertising to 5 congressional districts. Think about that. And so we don't get the bang for the buck that way that we want to, but so then you have to spend a lot of time putting people on the street, knocking on doors, getting things out that way. But let me tell you, a double-edged sword that hit this week, and I want to tell you in a positive way. Because I got a call from many of you that worked last time knew David Watts, and David is kind of the coordinator from the NRCC, and David says, hey, I want to call and tell you that I've got good news and I got bad news. He said, I said, okay, so give me the good news. He said, the good news is that you have been rated by many magazines on the Hill as strong, or as a safe Republican. And I thought, wow, that's wild, because they never predict that. You understand that Nancy Pelosi put me on a list early on as one-term wonders. And now, there were 16 of us, and 5 of us have moved our district into a rating from that, not from them, but from others, as safe Republican. And he says, now that was the good news. Now here's the bad news. You're going to have to work twice as hard to raise the money that we know you still have to have, because, see, not everybody around this nation understands the problems with voter fraud that exists in certain areas of your district. And so that means we've got to do our base groundwork harder. I've got to raise money out there, I've got to raise money here, but also, and this is what I want to be sure and ask you, and if you have any friends or anybody says, hey, I think Mike's doing a good job, and I think the team is doing a great job. Signs, that's starting again. No, didn't we just get done doing that? Yeah. Okay, signs, people to walk precincts. If you can't walk, can you man phone bags? If you can't